It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set.
Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to Drive Time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle once again. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on incredible radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400 in the Midlands, heard around the world on the iHeart Radio application. Download it today. It is free. And again, our website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Put the .com on it, doggone it. Where for just $63.17, you get 1 year of coverage of your Clemson Tigers. Last night, Tallahassee was the site, and the Clemson Tigers fall short. Late game scenarios not going Clemson's way. The Florida State Seminoles were down 2 on their final offensive possession when guard Raekwon Evans got into the paint, went up, was fouled. Size advantage, no question about that. We talk about that a lot here on the program. Evans gets fouled, hits the bucket to tie the game, hits the free throw to take the lead. Then Clemson, I don't know what the thought process was. There was, looking at it, there were how many seconds remaining at that point in the ball game? 14, I guess 14 seconds were left. And Clemson, for whatever reason, doesn't rush the ball up the court. They end up calling a timeout with like 4 seconds remaining. Draw up a pretty decent shot, but still wasted a lot of time getting the ball up the court. And would miss a three-pointer at the buzzer, maybe a two, maybe a long two. 81-80 the final score. Clemson led that game, by the way, by 4 points with 1 minute and 2 seconds left. And did not score another field goal and gave up 5 unanswered points to lose the game. Frustrating for sure. The Tigers trailed at one point in the second half by 9 and would eventually extend their lead at the most to 4 in those waning moments. And then that's when the run would take place for the Florida State Seminoles to victory. Now, look, you know where I am with this team. P.J. Hall played phenomenal. 28 points in the game. I mean, he did some things that you can tell I don't know if he'll be an NBA pro, but he did some things that make you believe he can be a professional basketball player somewhere and maybe even in the NBA. He had a couple of drives to the basket, 8 of 13 from the floor, 12 free throws made on 13 attempts, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, and a partridge in a pear tree for the sophomore out of Dorman. But the undersized guard play, Nick Honor, not even a smart foul really late. Like, you're up 2, Nick. You're up 2. You're already undersized. You're better off just giving up the 2 and having to tie a ball game with the basketball in your hand with 14 seconds left than to even attempt to put yourself in harm's way to pick up a foul. That's number. I mean, there are so many things I could go back to the waning moments and talk to you about my frustrations. Clemson now 12-14, 4-11 overall in the ACC. And again, I think more than anything, even given the look on Brad Brownell's face after the game in the post-game press conference, not only is he frustrated, not only is he seemingly at a loss to some degree. I think Brad Brownell is starting to feel the ills of the apathy around the program, the lack of success around the program. And we could talk about Clemson grit. But let me tell you what grit is. Grit is finishing a game where you have fought your way back and you are up by 4 with 1:02 left. That's grit. The only thing that got gritty last night was when Clemson got ground down in the final 1:02 for Florida State to take the victory. There is no margin for error for this Clemson Tiger men's basketball team. There's none. And when you have an opportunity, when you fought tooth and nail to get back into a ball game the way they did, you have to finish if you've got true grit. And they could not. And they did not. Alamir Dawes scored 18 points on 5 of 13 shooting. He was 4 for 11 from downtown. But I got to say this about Alamir Dawes. He thinks too highly of himself from the perimeter. He shoots the ball too much from deep. I mean, there was a couple of possessions. Couldn't quite get a couple of possessions out there where he just kind of came down and, did his own thing. Steph Curry. 3, not necessary. Still a team game. I think last night's loss was the single most frustrating loss that I have witnessed this Clemson Tiger basketball team have this season. I mean, they were 30 of 36 from the free throw line. That's 83.3%. That's all you can ask from this Clemson team as far as their free throw shooting percentage. What scares me more than anything is that if they shot what they can occasionally shoot from the free throw line, like 67%, this game wouldn't even have been close, right? Like, that's the other thing. Like, I could sit here and talk to you about how, man, they gave themselves a chance and this, that, and the other. But they did a great job from the free throw line, a place where they don't always do so well. Imagine if they hadn't done that well at the free throw line, how you'd be feeling today about this loss to the Seminoles. Even worse. Nauseatingly worse, I'm sure. 803-450-0086. Not only that, I mentioned Clemson's 4-point lead in the second half. They also held a 7-point advantage, 36-29, in the first half of action. You just have to finish. And I get it. They are playing without Hunter Tyson, and he is a star. He is one of their top players. But 81-80 is the final score, and Florida State wins. And I'll tell you what, nobody looks at the end of a season. Nobody looks at the end of a ball game, and nobody really cares. Injuries. Because they happen everywhere. They're coast to coast. Everybody's banged up at this point in the year. Everybody's missing a key guy. And when you have a 4-point lead with 1:02 left and you fail to close the deal, it doesn't matter who you're missing. And when your last possession looks as atrocious as Clemson's did, when Chase Hunter bringing the ball up the court thinking he's in an and one video, crossing the ball over, just taking his time, so much so that Brad Brownell has to call a timeout, then you're forced to run an inbounds play, which is not at all terrible. I mean, I said the other day, I would love it if basketball had the ability for you to call a timeout and advance the ball and get yourself a set. And in a scenario like that, there will be lots of plays with 4 seconds remaining, like Clemson had when they ran their final play. But the fact of the matter is, you should have had more time because you walked the ball up the court. And I don't think the plan was to call a timeout in the first place, but man, it was taking way too long to get into anything to give you a chance. 803-450-0086. 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line. Let us know what you thought about Clemson's performance last night. Again, it was on the road, but a frustrating season continues. We will hear from Brad Brownell in just a little bit. The Tigers are scheduled to take on Louisville this Saturday at 3 o'clock on a, wait for it, regional sports network. 803-450-0086. Again, PJ Hall, 28 points. I could go on and rave about PJ. I guess it was his last shot of the ball game I did not love. Felt a little bit forced. But when he's got 28 points in his back pocket, you're probably going to be prone, if you get the ball near the basket, near the rim, try to put up a shot. And it was a more difficult shot that he took. And, of course, missed, contested. And you just, you defensively, you're undersized in guard play. Evans pounds it, puts the ball on the ground, gets into the lane. You just can't foul there. If you're Nick Honor, you are much better off just allowing a bigger guy to make the shot than to foul him. He gets the and-1 and the dub for the Florida State Seminoles. Painful. Simply painful. You know what's more? You know what? I'll tell you what was about as painful as the loss. About how ugly are those Clemson uniforms, those purple uniforms? I'm not going to lie to you. You know what they look like, especially the tops. The tops look like something that you would wear to practice. I mean, the tops literally look like something you'd see at Fike in intramural league. The whole outfit was hideous. From the tiger stripes down the side, no white trim. Like, look, I know that I am not the foremost expert on fashion or possibly even visually appealing. Clemson's uniforms look like they got on the plane to Tallahassee and got halfway down there and realized they had the practice jerseys with them. And I don't remember if they've worn them any other times this season, if I've just missed it, or I haven't been cognizant of it, or I haven't paid attention to it. But the purple jerseys with the large Clemson paw and the tiger stripes down the side are hideous. Hideous. I mean, I honestly don't know how you pull those out and look at them and go, these are fresh. These look good. I mean, I know it's a insignificant thing to worry about, but I will I'll make a point here, maybe two, about it that I think you should hear. When you lack any semblance of basketball tradition, one thing you can make sure that you make traditional and classic and awesome are your jerseys. And I like the Clemson home jerseys. But these road jerseys, they look like something, when I was in college or in grad school at USC, there were some guys, and the same at Clemson too, when I was in undergrad, that would always be at the gym playing, and they didn't play shirts and skins. It'd be like professors. They were always playing like, one team would wear like yellow pennies over the top. These things look like ugly, cheap purple pennies that Clemson was wearing. As a matter of fact, when there was a close-up of one of the tiger paws on the thing, I thought that thing looks like it was ironed on the way down here. Like, did one of the players' moms make these jerseys for them? And I don't know who is the head of selecting what uniforms the players are going to wear, But that person needs to see an optometrist ASAP. Those are some of the worst looking uniforms I think I've ever seen. Not just at Clemson, maybe in the history of college basketball. Am I being too harsh? I don't think so. I think the facts are what they are. Those are some ugly uniforms. Those uniforms are so ugly that the throwback uniforms that Clemson wore when I was in college in like 95 or 96 to open the season against Georgia, like the 1939 uniforms that looked just awful. Those uniforms for football look better than these did for basketball. And I know how much you guys love your Clemson football uniforms because, dare I suggest, we do a Cincinnati Bengals one-off for one game, striped helmet, without you guys pitching a fit about it. So I know you love your football uniforms. Well, please start loving your basketball uniforms equally, because these basketball uniforms at Clemson were a disgrace to basketball uniforms around the world. Basketball uniforms were covering their eyes watching this game. That's how ugly Clemson's basketball uniforms were against Florida State. And if I have missed them earlier in the season, I thought about going back through some photos. I didn't. But if I have missed them, then I need to apologize to you. I need to apologize to you, the listener, because if you had to witness these more than once without me complaining about it, then that's on me. I'll take the heat for that one. Coming up on the program, Clemson announces their game day designations. That news came out a few days ago. We just haven't had a chance to get it into the coffers here on the show. Didn't have a chance to get into the rotation for you. We'll make sure that happens. We'll get that out to you. Again, it is a beautiful Wednesday afternoon here on the show that shakes the Southland. Hoping to get up with our buddy John Blau from the Charleston Post and Courier. Follow him on Twitter at John, Jon _ Blau, BLAU. Rhymes with wow, not spelled like that. Name is John, not spelled like that. Jon _ BLAU. We will hope to get up with him coming up in hour number 2. 803-450-0086. 803-450-0086. We'll continue our conversations with you, not only about college football, college basketball, also get into a little NFL conversation here on a Wednesday afternoon. And again, your Clemson Tigers this weekend on the road taking on the Louisville Cardinals at 3 o'clock in what is really beginning to be, if Brad Brownell is going to survive, you've got to start winning ball games. You have to start winning ball games in a hurry. Also, Clemson Plus is here. That started yesterday. Clemson's new streaming plan for IPTAY members. I, because I'm in the media, am not an IPTAY member and can't be. So I would love to hear from you about your Clemson Plus package if you've already checked it out, to let me know what's available. I am anxious to hear more about what is behind the curtain as it pertains to the Clemson Plus program for IPTAY members and then eventually for everybody else. I guess at that point, I'll be able to order it. I guess that's how it'll work. We'll see. Anyway, 803-450-0086, text line, phone line. Be a part of the show anytime, any place, anywhere. Coming up, we'll hear from Brad Brownell after Clemson's gut punch of a loss 81-80 at Florida State last night in Tallahassee. Stay with us for more Clemson Sports Talk. Back at it on a Wednesday afternoon, the show that shakes the Southland Clemson Sports Talk. Law and Swan with you. Brad Brownells opening comments following Clemson's 81-80 loss last night to Florida State. And there is no doubt Brownell was frustrated with things.
Heartbreaking loss tonight. I feel awful for my team. Thought we competed exceptionally hard. Guys rebounded their tails off tonight. Gave us a lot of second chance opportunities. And, we had some lapses, I thought, defensively a couple times in the game. We didn't think we were very good. Early in the second half, we had just kind of on our heels, give them credit. I thought they made some shots in the second half. They had some guys make some threes. Obviously, Raekwon Evans was very good for them. PJ was great for us. But this one stings. I'm disappointed with the way the game was officiated down the stretch. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Brad Brownell was asked about the final play of the game and whether or not he thought there might have been some contact on P.J. Hall as he tried to make his way to get the basketball. Ultimately, Alex Hemingway gets up a decent shot, but nonetheless, it was off the rim, and Clemson comes up short. Here's what Brownell had to say.
Yeah, we felt like he was held a little bit, making a cut to the basket. We got the ball to our best player in a good area. We had obviously our best shooter coming open to see if they're going to help off him, then we felt like we get an open shot for Alex. David was kind of a safety valve there in the back if we needed him. And then Chase was kind of to inbound the ball in space and find an open spot if he needed it. And, we got it to PJ, they doubled him, and he found Alex. Alex got a wide open shot. I mean, it's just, it's as good a shot as you're going to get under the circumstances. He makes it a lot, and unfortunately, it was short. Just hit the front of the rim again. And didn't go.
Brad Brownell was also asked about Clemson's guard play. Again, I mentioned Alamir Dawes, I think, shoots the ball too much from the perimeter. Nick Honor has not been nearly as effective as he was a year ago. The undersized nature of these guards, I think, is a big deal. Here's Brownell's thoughts on the guard play.
I don't know. They're not playing quite as well as I would like, or probably they would like. They've been inconsistent at times, and I think they're working hard. There's great effort, I thought. We're not making very many shots, enough shots, I should say, from the perimeter, and that's it's problematic for us. Sometimes it's a game of making shots. I mean, the last two games we had 5 and 6 turnovers. We only score in the low 60s because we don't make enough shots. That's hard. It's not like we're not executing things. I think that's the frustrating part is we're taking a few bad ones. There's no doubt about it. But I think a lot of times we're executing reasonably well, pretty well. Like when we go back and analyze it, we're getting the ball to places that we like, and we're just not making enough shots to be consistent to win. Obviously tonight we were 6 for 27 from 3. Even if we took 5 bad shots, 6 for 22 is not good enough. I said it the other day, we have to maybe we made 5. We got to make 8 or 9, to have a chance to beat somebody like Notre Dame. Tonight we only make 6, and they made 8. So we have to do better.
Brad Brownell, following Clemson's 1-point loss at Florida State, was asked about P.J. Hall. Hall with a career-high 28 points, really a leader for this team as a sophomore. Here's what he said about the big man.
Well, he's playing great offensively, and I thought he was better tonight. He wasn't very good early in the game defensively, but the longer the game went, I thought he got much better. And obviously his efficiency in the offense tonight was fantastic. I'm super proud of him. The kid is in a boot, 90% of every day. He's walking to games in boots. I mean, it's, he's given us everything he has. And today he was special in terms of finishing plays. And our guys are doing a good job. Our guys deserve credit for getting the ball. That our guys have really, understand that he's a primary target, and they're being unselfish and looking for him. And he was terrific tonight.
One of the other key plays we talked about was the fact that Evans had the ball in his hand late, and Brownell was asked whether or not Clemson thought about maybe double teaming or doing something just to get the ball out of his hands. Instead, he overpowered Honor for the short jumper.
Yeah, we thought about, being more aggressive on one of his ball screens. They called a foul on the one where we're down 4. I mean, I don't know. And then they come up and they ghosted one and they called another one. You can't really just go trap him and then let their athletes drive downhill 4-on-3 against your guys. Like that's hard. We obviously talked about, do we want to go a possession of zone? We decided against it. Our kids had done a pretty good job. The last 10 minutes of the game, we thought we were guarding them pretty well. But obviously proved to be a bad decision.
And the Seminoles come away with an 81-80 victory over your Clemson Tigers. 803-450-0086. If you want to vent, you want to get off your chest. I think most of you have hit a place that's dangerous for college sports and for college coaches and for programs like Clemson basketball. Apathy, apathetic. You don't care. You're not going to tune in. You're not going to support. It doesn't matter to you anymore. You've said they've waited too long with Brad Brownell, and you are simply not going to tune in until something changes. And that's a problem for Brad Brownell. People don't care to watch. And there's probably the most talented big man that Clemson has had. And I don't even know that his skill set's not sharper than Dale Davis, Eldon Campbell, and Tree Rollins. Maybe Horace Grant is the only other guy that had the skill set that you see from a PJ Hall. Who knows? Again, the game in the NBA has changed, so I don't know how much that translates for PJ's future. Man, he's a great big man, and nobody, not a lot of people, I'll say that, care to watch. Nobody might be a bit harsh. Stay with us. It is the show that shakes the Southland Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan with you on a Wednesday afternoon. Again, college football, man, can't wait for it to get here, right? But this offseason's delivered us a little turmoil. The situation down at Auburn, Brian Harsin in that position, and the ups and downs of the transfer portal, including Caleb Williams going from Oklahoma to Southern Cal and maybe becoming one of the most marketable names along with NIL and everything else. I mean, it's been a lot to talk about for sure, but I really cannot wait to get back into the mix of the college football season. And ESPN put out a list a couple of days ago of the top 10 games that could impact the college football playoff. And certainly, look, you know the numbers out of Vegas. Clemson still one of the top teams expected to compete for the college football playoff. And the Tigers, in years past, you've probably looked at a game and said, well, like last year, all the talk was Clemson and Georgia. It was a no-doubter, a no-brainer. The winner of that game would have a chance to win a national title. The winner of that game did win a national title, the Georgia Bulldogs. So you go through the years and you think about Clemson and their matchups, and yes, Florida State has not been what they once were. But there are games along the way, whether it's an ACC championship game, whether it's a matchup against Texas A&M, whoever, that you say, hey, that's a game that could fundamentally shift if Clemson gets into the college football playoff, which shapes the college football playoff. And the 10 games Heather Dinich, senior writer for ESPN, put together leads off with the number one game being the final game of the regular season for Michigan and Ohio State. Now, look, Ohio State, much like Clemson, much like Alabama, much like Oklahoma, much like Georgia, have been and will continue to be in that conversation. Michigan finally really asserted themselves into the mix by getting into the playoff a year ago, this past season, albeit with situation surrounding their head coach, Jim Harbaugh, potentially leaving the university to go into the NFL. But no one is denying the fact that those two teams, either by virtue of being two teams that get into the playoff, maybe playing spoiler for your rival, have a chance to shape what the college football playoff will look like in 2022. But even if Ohio State were to survive Michigan, they've also got an earlier season matchup against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, which has been a team that's been in the college football playoff, just on the outside of the college football playoff. And the Irish need victories like this to prove their worth in the college football playoff. That game set for September 3rd. Notre Dame also, by the way, this season will take on your Clemson Tigers and could certainly give some level of upheaval. Now, if you haven't been with us this week, you may not know this. If you weren't here yesterday, Al Golden, now the defensive coordinator for the Fighting Irish. And Marcus Freeman, the new head coach there in his first season, I think creates a lot of excitement, young energy, and buzz around that program. So much so that I think if it goes well for Marcus Freeman this year, maybe more than even Brian Kelly, Freeman's personality, his persona, all of that could carry a positive amount of momentum for the Fighting Irish moving forward over the long term. Marcus Freeman, if he's successful early at Notre Dame, could take that program up a notch, in my estimation. I never loved Brian Kelly, quite frankly. I never thought Brian Kelly was just this unbelievable coach, to be honest with you. I like him. I think he's a good coach. I don't know if I put him in the upper echelon even still. I think Marcus Freeman's young enough, energetic enough, fiery enough, excitable, recruitable, all of those things that he could become one of the top 10 coaches in college football, maybe even a top 5 coach if he's successful and has a nice run at Notre Dame. Other games that could shape things, Georgia and Oregon in Atlanta, September 3rd, the same day that Notre Dame and Ohio State will face off to open the season. Georgia and Oregon, the defending champions, going up against their former defensive coordinator, Dan Lanning, in Atlanta. Oregon a year ago, as you know, went into Ohio State and got a victory early on in the season. The West Coast resume is it's tough to get through an entire season at this point, with Southern Cal kind of being where they are and Stanford kind of being where they are, maybe even Arizona. It's tough for those teams like Oregon and others to prove their worth if they don't win ball games like this, and it's going to be a tough one, as the Bulldogs are going to be one of the best teams in the country, no doubt about it, this coming season. But could Georgia sleepwalk a little bit with the opener, being the defending national champions? Far be it from me from putting that beyond them. Plus, Lanning knows a lot about that team, and maybe defensively schemes it up, keeps it a low-scoring game, and who knows, maybe the Ducks find a way to escape Atlanta with a victory. And finally, for Heather Dinich, at least in this segment, we'll wrap it up after this, and we'll come back and get through some of the rest of our list. Texas A&M and Alabama on October the 8th. Remember, it was Jimbo Fisher and A&M who knocked off Alabama this past season, Fisher becoming the first former assistant under Nick Saban to get a victory over him. Kirby Smart would get that national championship win over his former boss as well. You got to imagine, though, Alabama getting them at home, Alabama knowing what happened a year ago, that yes, indeed, they will be squarely focused on the Aggies, plus the Aggies' top recruiting class, plus the belief that Aggie fans have that their program's on the rise and maybe has the ability to surpass Alabama in the West. That game feels like one where Nick Saban would just want to punch the Aggies in the mouth and not let up. I'm going to tell you, if Alabama can jump on them, they will jump on them in a big, big way. When we come back, we'll run down the final 6 games in this list, of the games that could shape or should shape even the college football playoff in 2022. Stay with us for more Clemson Sports Talk. Final segment of the first hour here on the show that shakes the Southland. Again, running down Heather Dinich's list of the games that will shape the college football playoff. Number 1 was Michigan at Ohio State, November 26th. Notre Dame at Ohio State, September the 3rd. Georgia versus Oregon in Atlanta on September the 3rd as well. And then Texas A&M at Alabama on October the 8th. But the week before that, your Clemson Tigers are in a game that could shape the college football playoff, even though Clemson and Notre Dame will play on November the 5th. The matchup between the Tigers and NC State checks in at number 5, according to Heather Dinich. She says, no doubt for NC State, that'll be a must-win ball game. Obviously, their schedule not exactly up to the standards that maybe Clemson has pieced together in the past. I mean, their non-conference lineup, East Carolina, Charleston Southern, Texas Tech, and UConn. They'd probably have to win for sure the ACC to prove their worth. But Clemson still, I think, carries some of that weight of being who they've been for the past almost a decade. But they're not necessarily the undoubtable winner and favorite in the ACC. So a big season for Clemson coming up in 2022. A huge ball game on October the 1st against NC State. The Tigers looking to exact revenge after their loss on the road. Fortunately for Clemson, it is a home game. You would expect fans will be pouring energy into that arena like they haven't in a while, simply because of the expectations of what could come forth. I personally still like Clemson in this game, especially with it being at home. Still plenty of time between now and then. Who knows what roster updates could take place? But for Clemson to have a matchup with NC State being the thing that could dictate and shape the college football playoff, man, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that game on October the 1st will be a big one. Number 6 on the list, Southern Cal at Utah on October the 15th. The 7th most impactful game on that list, Michigan at Michigan State on October the 29th. The 8th game features an Atlantic Coast Conference team, however, as Miami goes on the road to Texas A&M on September the 17th. Let's not forget Mario Cristobal, now the head coach at Miami, has Kevin Steele, the former Clemson Tiger defensive coordinator, down there. Offensive coordinator Josh Gaddis from Notre Dame down there. And an opportunity, when you think about Texas A&M, as we talked earlier in the previous segment, the Aggies with the top-rated recruiting class in the country, the Aggies with the belief and the mindset that they are a team destined to surpass the Alabama Crimson Tide. Like, you get into all of that, okay, and let Miami, just a couple of games into Cristobal's tenure, go into College Station and come out with a victory. Look, it might not shape Miami's route to the playoff in his first year, but you can change the complexion of what people see from your program by not going out there and competing. I don't think that does it. But you go out there and win. You go out there and shock the college football world. You go out and put the .com on it, doggone it. ClemsonSportsTalk.com it. I don't even know what that means, Swanee. And all of a sudden, I mean, look, recruits will take notice. The amazing thing about Miami, maybe even more so than Florida State, maybe even more so than pick the school, Penn State, whomever, that all-white Miami uniform, it oozes swagger. And it has ties to a run that's been almost unparalleled at times in the history of college football. And people have not forgotten. Kids have not forgotten. The U has not gone anywhere. It just takes one guy coming in like Cristobal and giving it the shot in the arm it needs to lead a resurgence, if you will. The final two games on Heather Dinich's list: Oklahoma State at Baylor on October the 1st, and last Cincinnati at Arkansas on September the 3rd. Now, why is that key? Remember, Cincinnati has back-to-back undefeated seasons. Their only two losses have come at the hands of Georgia in the bowl game a year ago, and then at the hands of Alabama in the college football playoff this past season. That's September 3rd, the season opener for Cincinnati. It's an Arkansas team under Sam Pittman that I think surprised a lot of people last year. It's a Cincinnati team minus their quarterback Desmond Ridder. But the thing you have to do if you're going to be considered in the college football playoff, if you're one of the group of 5 teams, is go undefeated, and you need to beat a team from the SEC. And like I said, look, I want those guys to have to prove I want them to have to prove it on the gridiron more so than winning one game and running through the American Athletic Conference. That's why I'm for expansion. I'm for expansion because it grants inclusion of more teams and more leagues. It also allows for the fat to be trimmed and for the frauds to be cast or caught, whatever you want to call it. And I think that that's a better scenario to get you down to a good top 4, to a top 2, and then a top 1. And you know what? If one day a group of 5 team manages to win that, then you know what? I can't question how they won it, because you go in there and win 3 ball games and all that with a bigger field, it's more impressive to me. It's more impressive. 803-450-0086. Coming up on the show, our good buddy John Blau. John Blau joins the program right after this. Stay with us.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set!
Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
It is hour number 2. That's drive time right here on the show that shakes the Southland Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan with you. We've talked a little college football, a little college basketball, a little Clemson, a little national. But how about our buddy John Blau from the Charleston Post and Courier joining us here? He's on Twitter at John, Jon_Blau, BLAU. Go follow him. John, I'm not joking, man. I said before the break, Blood Owl. I think maybe that's what you should have gone with on Twitter. Just at Blood Owl. Hope you're doing good, buddy.
Doing all right. How are you, Lawton?
I'm good. Listen, man, you drop scoops. You got all the content. I like it. The kids, it's catchy. John Blood Owl. Go follow him on Twitter at Jon_Blau, BLAU. All right, John, let's start. Clemson basketball. We'll start with the ugly here. Last night, competitive. Still not enough. I know Brad Brownell was not happy after the game with the officiating. Yet the Tigers were up by 4 with 1:02 and failed to score another point in the ball game and lose a tough one on the road in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I mean, this has kind of been the story of their season. Again, if you go back and look at all the close games they've had, just haven't quite been able to pull them out, make the plays you need to be able to make at the end of the game. And yeah, you talk about the free throw line. Yeah, that can help you out at the end of the day. But if you don't have the guard play to be able to make plays, to be able to drive the lane, to be able to hit shots, things like that, especially considering you don't have Hunter Tyson right now. PJ Hall's giving you everything he's got I mean, scoring 28 points the way he did. Florida State had a great game. But again, I think the main point is the guard play just is not where you need it to be right now. That's probably the deciding factor in a lot of these games in terms of not being able to hit the shot you have to hit or not be able to drive, make the play you have to make to win a game. And so, yeah, over and over this season, we've seen Clemson just, battle. They're definitely playing hard. They're definitely not too far away. They're just not able to win these games because they're just missing that component, it feels like.
John, you've covered basketball a long time. Coach Brownell has said that PJ Hall's in that walking boot 90% of the time when he's not on the court. For a guy to be going through that yet playing the way he did or has been, I mean, how rare is that in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've heard of a situation like that where, again, he is literally trying to get through this season. I think in a lot of situations where I've heard something like this, usually they just shut it down. I mean, it's just he can't practice. You have to manage it to this degree. We're just going to shut it down until, it's 100%. But it's one of those deals where he needs a long, extended period of rest, and they really, really need him. And it sounds like PJ Hall just really, really wants to play. And so, but yeah, no, Brad Brownell's talked about this multiple times. It's hard when your best player, a guy you try to run offense through, he's not out there in practice. I mean, they're running their sets and they're not running it with PJ Hall. They're running it with Ben Millbrooks most of the time. And then he shows up in the game and does what he does. At the same time, it's remarkable because, again, I don't think that most of Clemson's problems are PJ Hall. I mean, he's
right
keeping them in games. So it's what he's been able to do is absolutely remarkable considering, again, his freshman year, how much he's grown as a sophomore, and considering the fact that, he's doing it on one good foot. It'll be amazing to see what he is when he's able to practice more and that he's able to, not really worry about this issue. But yeah, no, in terms of hearing about something like this, I have not personally seen anything like it, but it is something to behold, definitely.
John Blau, again, of the Charleston Post and Courier, with us here on the show that shakes the Southland. Follow John on Twitter at John, JON_Blau, BLAU. John, so with that out of the way, and I know that, you've been following this program all season, you hear the rumblings. I felt like last night more than any time this season, Brad Brownell had a malaise might be the word about him after that ball game. Just that even he sort of, I think it's seeping in how difficult the task has been this season. The games that remain not plentiful. You would expect the Tigers to maybe find a way to win a couple, but it just really feels like even Brad Brownell is this season seems to be weighing heavily on him.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard it a couple times. His hands are just really tied at this point. It was going to be thin margins for this team, regardless, just because they did have such youth. They were breaking in a guy like PJ Hall. The guard play has been what the guard play has been. But when you lose Hunter Tyson, just a guy that can stretch the floor, can rebound, he's your captain, he's your leader. He's not out there. Then you get even younger with me and Shiflin, who actually played really well, in a couple games against, last week against Duke and North Carolina, and so the performances he had. But you don't have the maturity, and you don't have a star who's practicing every day, and you don't have the guard play, you don't have your captain. It's just there are a lot of things, that are hard to overcome. And he talked about it, during I think it was right after the North Carolina game, just how much of a gut punch it is to, lose by 2 points on the road at Duke and then lose by 2 points at home to North Carolina. And they've just been so close. And he was obviously talking in respect to his players in terms of the gut punch they were taking. But, I mean, I can only imagine how much it's eating him up inside. I mean, being able to look back, at all the games on the schedule, all the games they almost won, just not quite being there. And the interesting thing that he said multiple times at this point has been, we got to think about some things recruiting-wise. I think there are some regrets. I don't know what specifically they are, but some regrets in terms of, maybe this roster isn't constructed quite the way he would have liked it to have been to come into the season. There's been some kind of hints of that. And if I had to, look at it, again, the guard play is not quite where they need it. And, I think they're trying to remedy some of it with some of the players that are coming in next year. There are a couple of 6'6", 6'8" wing types that are coming in next year, but right now they're a little too small in the backcourt. Chase Hunter, when he plays really well, really helps, but he's been a little up and down since he kind of really emerged there a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, it's got to be frustrating as a coach that you're so close, but you just can't quite get it done, and you know that you're kind of just, your hands are tied a little bit in terms of trying to get the most out of these guys and actually win some of these games.
I'm sure his eyes are focused and locked in on Clemson, so he can't really peer around the world of college basketball, but you can't follow the sport and not see, like, say, a Steve Forbes in just a couple of years at Wake Forest. There have been 4 head coaches at Wake Forest in the time that Brad Brownell's been at Clemson, and see what Wake Forest is doing and going, fresh hire, new look, and all of a sudden some success. Or even maybe look at a Louisville where they fire Chris Mack, and and you say, if you're a coach, I mean, these guys know each other. He knows these things are happening. He knows there's success and failures for these other guys that have been at their programs a lot, shorter tenures than he has. I mean, is that also something that, fans and everybody, factors in when they look at the fact of how long he's been at Clemson, in your opinion? I think Steve Forbes, to me, is the story here, as a guy who's just been at Wake for a few seasons and really has the Demon Deacons playing exciting and good basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously can't get inside Brad's head in terms of, if he looks around and wonders about job security or anything like that. I don't quite know. But in terms of, I mean, I think I brought this up the last time I was on. I mean, he's been at Clemson for 12 years. In college basketball, that is a long time to be at the same job, and just the coaching profession nowadays, unless you're having wild success. And they just haven't quite had, what you would classify as wild success. And there are these other programs around. Again, you bring up Steve Forbes at Wake Forest. Look at Alabama. You look at Auburn. You look at some of these programs that haven't traditionally been great at basketball, men's basketball, and they're really succeeding. I mean, it's showing that you can turn around and make a kind of splash really quickly. And I think that is a little bit, again, maybe I can speak more to the fans. I mean, in terms of their frustration, I mean, I kind of understand it, that you look around and you've had the same product for a while and it's not quite, getting, to the level that some of these other programs will be able to achieve. And I think people get restless. I think that's definitely the case with fan bases. I was at, covering IU with Archie Miller. After 4 years, they got restless. Obviously, very different expectations for IU basketball. They expect to at least be in the tournament. They weren't in the tournament for many years in a row. But people can get restless real quick. And obviously, Brad Brownell's been here for 12 years. So there's probably a little bit of that restlessness that's just kind of creeping to the surface. And it probably doesn't help them that, some of these other coaches are having, immediate success, able to turn things around and have finish games in a better way with their teams and pull out some of these wins. And that Clemson it probably doesn't help them at the end of the day.
John Blouse here every Wednesday to talk a little bit about your Clemson Tigers, to talk a little bit about college football and college basketball at large. And I got to tell you, man, thinking back to Archie Miller's time at North Carolina State sort of gives me pain, man. I did not like that guy as a player on the court. I got to say, I did not like that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he was a scrappy dude, and also he could hit some three-pointers.
Yeah, right?
But in terms of a coach, it just he wasn't quite able to get the recruiting going, wasn't quite able to connect with the fan base as a personality. I mean, that was one of his deals too. I don't think he really loved talking to the media. So talk about not loving him on the court. He also didn't, endear himself to many people because he's just kind of, I'm a coach and that's what I do. And just very, very blue collar in that sense, maybe I would say. And it just did not work out. And he's doing podcasts now. I've seen him doing podcasting for, I think it's Field at 68. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
He's out there. But in terms of a player, yeah, I know he was a pain in the butt for everybody in the ACC a long time ago.
Yeah, I never liked a guy that was shorter than me that was out there on the court playing, because I played a lot of basketball in college, and I always wished that I could have been the guy out there. Again, John Blau from the Charleston Post and Courier with us here on the program today. All right, John, let's shift gears a little bit away from this Clemson Tiger men's basketball team. They got a big matchup coming up this weekend against Louisville, and let's talk a little bit about this Clemson Tiger football team. I know Heather Dinich over at ESPN put together her 10 most important games that could shape the college football season next year. And look, there's a laundry list of marquee matchups of teams who typically would be at the top billing of college football. NC State has not been there, but that matchup between the Tigers and the Wolfpack next year in Death Valley, a rematch of Clemson's loss a year ago in Raleigh, is on her list. I think she had that 5th on the list. With all that out there, I mean, do you expect that game will deliver as far as just a competitive contest, or do you think Clemson sort of gets back to what they have been, which is really the king of the Atlantic Coast Conference in 2022?
Yeah, I mean, that's looking way down the line. I'm not sure. I would like to see spring ball before I make these types of determinations. But yeah, no, I mean, NC State obviously, broke a long losing streak in the series. That overtime win up at home, up in Raleigh, definitely kind of put the Tigers back on their heels a little bit. It's going to be interesting. I mean, obviously, I think everything hinges on how much better Clemson's offense improves between now and the fall. Defensively, I think Clemson is going to be just as good potentially next year as they were this year. I know that's maybe a little bit of a bold statement because you are losing 2 really important guys at corner, and Mario Goodrich and Andrew Booth, and you're losing Skalski in the middle and Baylon Spector. There is some experience you're losing there, but that defensive line, I think, is just so next level that they're going to have a chance to be a really, really good defense again. And North Carolina State, I don't think is going to score many more than what they did last time, probably 21 points. But it's offensively with Clemson. How much is that offensive line going to progress? I mean, they were nowhere near where they were even probably by the end of the season in that NC State game. And so, how much does that unit gel and get better and improve? How much, obviously, does DJ Uyunglele improve between where he was last time? Again, looking at that NC State game, not able to connect with Justin Ross a couple times at overtime, and obviously I think he had that one drive early in the game, and then just multiple drive after drive after drive to not get the offense going. Are they going to be a more consistent offense that's able to sustain drives, score touchdowns? I mean, I could see it going either way. I mean, I could see NC State kind of maintaining its level and be able to make that a competitive game again. But again, if Clemson improves as much as I think they will potentially offensively, and obviously he's got that bulletin board material in terms of what happened the year before. I think that could be a very motivated Clemson team. I would not be surprised if it kind of goes the other way next year. And if it does, that kind of shows you where Clemson is. It's going to be that is an interesting game to point to. It's going to be a real kind of litmus test for where Clemson is, depending on how they play in that.
John, hypothetically, if DJ were to lose 20, 25 pounds this offseason, I don't know what the number looks like, what they want to do, but I understand they're trying to, have him lose some weight, probably some for his knees, probably some for his, escapability in the pocket. I mean, how big of an advantage do you think just a few split seconds of speed could make for DJ as he continues to develop at quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, there's a potential there to help in terms of his moving around in the pocket, but at the same time, maybe being a little more fleet of foot in terms of his footwork, being able to move around that pocket. At the same time, that's more of a mental thing. At the end of the day, I think most of it with DJ is how quickly can he process, because there were times last year where the protection wasn't perfect. Things were kind of getting a little fast, a little shaky for him, and he wasn't quite able to maneuver around to be able to buy himself an extra half second, an extra second to be able to get a throw off. There were some times where, they didn't use him as much in the run game. I mean, that's probably more, where the benefit can come in terms of maybe more of a comfort level in terms of using him there. But for me, I think that's a benefit for him to lose a few pounds and to kind of be a little bit more agile there. But my main thing with DJ when watching him from last year is that it's more of a mental deal. How quickly can he process? Can he find the right answers sooner in his progressions? Can he move around in the pocket and not really put him in some bad situations? Maybe even put his offensive lineman in bad situations where he's not quite moving to the right spot or stepping up the right way. To me, it's more about mechanics. It's more about his processing. At the end of the day, in terms of his, slimming down, going from big Cinco to little Cinco, I think was the joke that Dabo had when he got under 250. Going from big to little, that would help. That definitely make him a more, multiple, I guess, athlete, or if you call it more of a dual threat. I don't know if DJ will ever be a dual threat, but more of a guy who can hurt you with both his feet, his legs. That would definitely help. But I think, again, that the main thing is just how he feels in terms of, being able to feel like he's a playmaker and to be able to see the field and read is what I'm more concerned about.
Listen, I'm with you, and I think just that ability to, like you said, the escapability, be able to move around a little bit will certainly help him. It's got to take some pressure off of that knee. I think that would help him in a big way. All right, follow John on Twitter. Sadly, not at Bladau, but just at John, JON_Blau, BLAU. John, thanks for bringing the heat as always. Again, check out his coverage of your Clemson Tigers on the Post and Courier's website. We'll talk to you next Wednesday, my man. Thank you.
That's good. Thanks a lot.
There he is, John Blau. 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line. I love this. Well, don't want to get too far out. October the 1st, Swanee. We got a while. He's right. Lots of things can change after the spring. Let's not forget Tavian Feaster a couple of years ago was maybe the top running back coming out of the spring at Clemson. Was at least looking like he was going to make some noise, and then boom, he's at South Carolina. So, hey, it happens. It happens. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with more right after this. Rocking and rolling along on a Wednesday afternoon. Okay, I got to ask this question. I have to ask this. How many of you are actually watching the Olympics? I mean, look, I don't know what changed. I don't know if it's the fact that we have 7,000 channels now. But when I was a kid, I was interested in the Olympics, and I think we can equate it to a couple of things actually. One, the fact that there's sports everywhere all the time. The fact that there are channels, like I said, everywhere, just tons of channels. And when I was growing up, man, you really didn't have but the locals, and one of them was going to be covering the Olympics, and the other was going to have what? The news on or some show. And so we watched the Olympics for the sport, whether it was winter or summer, it didn't matter. You watched it. And I have watched just a little bit of the Olympics this year. The main thing that I watched in terms of the Olympics this year is that skeleton race where they're like going 80 miles an hour on a boogie board down an ice slope head first. Somebody said, do they call it that because if you crash, you're going to break your skeleton? I'm not sure. I don't even know where it came from. Now, maybe this is because I'm getting older. I don't really understand the rules. I tend to watch it as if I'm just watching shuffleboard, but I like curling. Oh, Swanee's at the old folks' home, and man, he is great at shuffleboard. I like watching them do the little, whatever it is with the little Reiki looking thing in front, the little, and the other thing too, I like just hearing people scream at each other in foreign languages. Nothing blah, nothing blah. I don't know what you're saying. Are you saying scrub faster, scrub slower? But I can't get into the Olympics. And I have one other theory, other than channels, other than so many other things to watch. I think the other thing that's kind of affected it is social media. I think the fact that you can, a lot of times, they try to, years ago, and less, let me even go further, less about social media and more about the internet. Years ago, you would have had no way of knowing the outcome of a result had it happened 8 hours ago. Like the odds that you found out that somebody won gold years ago before it played on your TV was rare. And so now what else has happened is you've got this coverage split up amongst multiple channels. It's pretty much all live. And what's not live, you may already know the result. So why tune in if I know the result? And I honestly don't know how to fix it, because I think in some respects, as Americans, we have been known to think that the world revolves around America and that everybody should be living on Eastern Standard Time, right? What time's tip off of that basketball game in China? If this was the Summer Olympics, you guys would be like, well, they got to tip that thing off at whatever time in the morning, because I got to be able to watch it in the evening. They need to tip that thing off at 7 a.m. China time so that I can watch it at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. That's not how it works, right? It doesn't revolve around our schedule. It revolves around where those games are being played. And so I think that too is a bit of a factor in it. But yeah, I think social media and the fact that, if somebody does something unbelievable, like that's the other thing too. You can do everything you can. I can remember when, say, Clemson played a ball game at noon in Death Valley. And then there was another game you wanted to watch that kicked off at, say, 7 o'clock. What I would do is what I would call going dark. Like, I would avoid my phone. I would avoid taking a phone call. I mean, I would not want to know what's going on so I could go home and watch that game live, especially if it was a big game. If it was a game of significance, that's what I would do so that I could enjoy that game in its entirety from start to finish, even if I was not live with the rest of the world. But the thing is, when you're dealing with a sport like the Olympics, if there's some and I know we're talking about winter games now and not summer, but if somebody were to shatter the world record in the 100-meter dash and you were trying it all at the best you could to avoid it, the odds that it wouldn't just pop up on your phone or your watch, or you'd get like a ticker scrolling below the screen on some other channel. This just in, Usain Bolt Jr. breaks his father's record. It's almost impossible to avoid. And I think that a part of that's the reason we're not so into the Olympics anymore. I mean, I haven't heard a single nobody has said to me, man, did you watch the Olympics last night? It was amazing. Now, maybe we live in the South. Maybe that's the other thing too. Like Swanee, duh. We've never seen any snow like that. But I don't know. I just don't feel like kids or people are as invested as they once were, because you got so much else you can do. And by the way, one final thing. I don't know what the event is, whether it's a ski jump or something. Have you seen this one that's right in front of some old reactors, like a nuclear power plant? Yeah, look, I don't care if I'm trying to win the gold medal, world championship. I don't care what's up for grabs. $1,000,000. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it right by that reactor. I don't care what you say. I watched Chernobyl on HBO. I know how bad that could be. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with more right after this. Clemson Sports Talk, Lawton Swan, the show that shakes the Southland. Do you follow us on Twitter yet? Why not? You know what? I saw somebody the other day talk about how many podcast downloads their show had. And I looked at ours. Whew. You guys are incredible. You guys are incredible. I mean, I can't thank you enough. If you don't subscribe to the podcast, please do it. We put it out every day. Streamlined, no commercials. You'll like that. Every day. And would love to grow that number, man. I'd love to 10 times that number, but still remarkable numbers that we put up with the podcast. So all you podcasters that don't participate, why? I also got several messages from Double O the other day, yesterday during the program. Didn't get a chance to bring them to you on the air here, but he did call and leave me a message.
Yeah, you know who this is. I got some bad news for you. Your bill for using my patented name, it's a very famous name, and you have to pay. I've already informed you, every time you use it, you have to pay $5 for every time you say 450-0086. So your bill is now at $75. When it gets to 100, like I said, I'll be knocking on your front door. And as far as your worst team, you might not have a bad one, but I got several bad ones. I got the Cowboys as my worst favorite. Then I would have to go after that. I'll go with the LA Rams, my second worst favorite team. But that's all I got right now, because I know if I talk too long, you won't put this on there. But you probably won't put it on there anyway, because you don't want to tell everybody I owe you money. Goodbye.
Did I hear that right? You owe me money?
You probably won't put it on there anyway, because you don't want to tell everybody I owe you money. Goodbye.
You know what, Double O? I'm not going to mention that you owe me money. I'm just going to keep that between me and you. I would never bring such a thing up to the people on the air.
You probably won't put it on there anyway, because you don't want to tell everybody I owe you money. Goodbye.
Double O, 803. Yeah. He says, I can't say so. 803-450-0086. I got to try to work the bill back in the other direction. He's going to be collecting on all those 0086s that I throw out there to you. Speaking of Double O, remember a couple of weeks ago when he called and he left us that other message that I sliced up?
Well, surprise.
I love that one. Surprise. You guys give us a call anytime, man. 803-450-0086. Some of you are going, Swanee, when are you going to get the live studio back? Listen, I have made some progress on it. I'm still feeling good. Have not talked to the engineer, John Merriam, in a while. He seems to be busy. iHeart keeps him busy. I wish they could let him have a little more time for me so we can finally wrap this bird up. I'm getting closer. I just can't find the right camera angle. That's the last. I'm telling you, that is the last thing. I've got the room studio completely rearranged and set up. Got the backdrop. Got the footballs in the background. I've got everything necessary to bring this show back live, except for finding the spot or getting a better camera or a better camera stand. And my frustration is where the camera is now. It's too far off to the left. If I put it in the middle, I feel like the camera's shooting right down on top of me. I've just got to find the right spot for it. And I've bounced it around the room, but you know me, man. I'm a little bit of a, I'm a perfectionist. I like things done the right way, and I'm not going to bring you this show back live if it's not done the right way. That's not fair to you. And I can't do it, man. I need it to be perfect the way I want it, and it's not yet. So I check it every once in a while. I load it up. I'll sit here. I'll pretend I'm doing the show. Y'all see me like a bozo the clown sitting here at night just looking at the camera and moving it around and checking the light, checking the backdrop, and then, yeah, one thing after the other for me as it pertains to getting prepared to bring the show back live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086. I'm 0086. Woo, save myself a little money there on that one. Don't forget again, your Clemson Tigers on the road at Louisville, a huge matchup again for Clemson, because I don't know what the breaking point is for this program as it pertains to the upper administration with Graham Neff as the athletic director, but they are currently 12-14. They have a 5-game losing streak. They have lost 6 out of their last 7. They have lost 10 out of their last 12, and that's not trending in the right direction. You lose against Louisville this weekend. You got a tough game against Wake Forest at home. At Boston College, possibly winnable, but you lost to them at home already. Versus Georgia Tech at home, but you lost to them by 5 on the road already. And then a matchup with Virginia Tech to wrap up the season. I mean, can you imagine if this thing just finishes heading the way it's been heading so far? How the apathy will grow during the offseason if a change isn't made. Like, if I'm Brad Brownell, quite frankly, I don't even know if I would want to have to go into another year if the Tigers don't figure out a way to pick up a few wins here in the back part of the schedule. And I don't even know how many, quite frankly, I don't really know what the number to make you feel any better would be at this point. I'm not sure one exists. We kind of went through that the other day. But, if it doesn't, if they don't win a game or two and get to 6 wins, if they're like 6-14, I don't know, man. The apathy and the frustration heading into next year will be at perhaps a program high, which says something.
What have you done for me lately? It's a fair question. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget history. Lucky for us at Clemson, the answer to the questions, what have you done for me lately, and what have you done always, are the same. We win.
Final segment on a Wednesday afternoon, the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk. If you've been to our website, you haven't, check it out. It's ClemsonSportsTalk.com. 803-450-00, 803-450-0086. That's the way that you can be a part of the program. Again, we've covered a lot, including Clemson's loss to Florida State last night down in Tallahassee. Here's what Brad Brownell had to say after the ball game.
Heartbreaking loss tonight. I feel awful for my team. Thought we competed exceptionally hard. Guys rebounded their tails off tonight. Gave us a lot of second chance opportunities. And, we had lapses, I thought, defensively a couple times in the game. We didn't think we were very good. Early in the second half, we had just kind of on our heels, give them credit. I thought they made some shots in the second half. They had some guys make some threes. Obviously, Raekwon Evans was very good for them. PJ was great for us. But this one stings. I'm disappointed with the way the game was officiated down the stretch. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Brad Brownell was asked about the final play of the game and whether or not he thought there might have been some contact on P.J. Hall as he tried to make his way to get the basketball. Ultimately, Alex Hemingway gets up a decent shot, but nonetheless, it was off the rim, and Clemson comes up short. Here's what Brownell had to say.
Yeah, we felt like he was held a little bit, making a cut to the basket. Yeah, we got the ball to our best player in a good area. We had obviously our best shooter coming open to see if they're going to help off him, then we felt like we get an open shot for Alex. David was kind of a safety valve there in the back if we needed him. And then Chase was kind of to inbound the ball in space and find an open spot if he needed it. And, we got it to PJ, they doubled him, and he found Alex. Alex got a wide open shot. I mean, it's just, it's as good a shot as you're going to get under the circumstances. He makes it a lot, and unfortunately it was short. Just hit the front of the rim again. Didn't go.
And that's the way the cookie crumbled. And again, I think for me, the most frustrating part, Clemson's inability up 4 with 1 minute and 2 seconds left to execute. And yeah, we can certainly discuss, and rightfully so, whether there was a missed call or officiate. I mean, those are things that happen. But you had put yourself in position to be successful. You put yourself in position to win the game. And it wasn't just the execution or missed calls, but even on the final possession where Chase Hunter is bringing the ball up the court. And I'm like, what is going on? What is happening? We're wasting, and I say we because I am a Clemson graduate. I'm like, we are wasting time. Just doesn't make sense. 803-450-0086. A couple of other notes. We talked about Deshaun Watson earlier this week, or maybe that was late last week. I can't even remember now. All the weeks just start to run together here on the program. But according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Minnesota Vikings are among the teams that Deshaun Watson would potentially be excited about ending up with, I guess I should say. Watson, of course, still facing 22 civil lawsuits for alleged sexual misconduct. I mean, I don't know. It is surprising to me at this point that if, these situations actually happened and there was enough evidence for criminal, situations to come forward, that this stuff hasn't advanced. I am not a litigator. I have not even served on a jury, quite frankly. Although I was up for being, serving on a jury, and got out of that one. Would you like to seat the juror? No, Your Honor. Thank you, everyone. And I will not be here all week. But I think that at some point, like, Deshaun Watson is losing valuable time on the gridiron with this hovering around him. And again, in a country where you are innocent until proven guilty, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I just want to get some resolution out of all of this so that I can move forward. And I've never sat in here and defended Deshaun, and I will not. But I've also never sat in here and said, hey, he's 100% guilty. I need to see everything play out or be brought to light, because right now what we have is simply allegations. A lot of them, mind you, but I don't know what's truthful and what's not. And those ladies who have accused him deserve their opportunities to be heard as well. But those are two teams, the Buccaneers and the Vikings, who are potentially looking at DW4. We got to get out of here. Let me fix that. DW4 may be looking at them. We got to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, as always, y'all take care now. And go Tigers.